Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a truly wild story of resilience, totally unconventional choices, and just massive, massive success. If you follow the NBA, you already know the name. We're talking about the New York Knicks' ultimate rebounding king, Mitchell Robinson. But the story of how he actually made it to the bright lights of Madison Square Garden, yeah, it's anything but a straight line. In fact, uncovering his path reveals one of the most uniquely winding roads in modern sports history. Okay, let's dive into this. To truly understand a player's greatness, we kind of have to look past the NBA stardom, right? Past the jerseys, past the flashy highlight reels. We need to uncover the real Mitchell Robinson and the incredibly chaotic origins that forged him. I mean, how does someone go from completely flying under the radar to just dominating the paint in professional basketball? Well, the answer lies in a journey filled with detours that would have, honestly, derailed almost anyone else. Now, what's really interesting here is that when you hear a title like the Knicks Rebounding King, you probably picture this perfectly groomed prodigy, someone who was destined for greatness from the absolute second they picked up a basketball. A player who just walked the red carpet from elite high school programs straight into college dominance. Well, keep that image in your head for a second because we're about to completely pull the rug out from under it. 36, this towering superstar, this guy who dominates the glass, wasn't a number one overall pick. Actually, he wasn't even a lottery pick. Mitchell Robinson was the 36th overall pick in the draft. He was a massive underdog, a second-round selection that so many teams just completely passed on. Why? Well, because NBA teams love a sure thing, and Mitchell's path to the draft was honestly a total mystery to most. To understand why he slipped all the way down to number 36, we've got to rewind the clock and look at where this whole story actually begins. So, Mitchell was born and raised in Pensacola, Florida, and his early life was really anchored by his grandmother. She stepped up to raise him because his mother was simply too young at the time. As for his size and skills, well, he inherited his basketball blood straight from his dad, Mitchell Robinson Jr., who played the game back in high school. So the foundation was definitely there, right? A loving grandmother holding down the fort, and literally the genetic blueprint for basketball. But as we know, talent alone doesn't guarantee a smooth ride. Not even close. Let's see how this builds, because his high school timeline maps out what we can safely call his wandering years, and it is a total whirlwind. First, he spends 2 whole years at Pine Forest High School in Florida, completely unnoticed. No major basketball buzz whatsoever. Then, he transfers to Landry Walker High School in New Orleans, where he plays exactly 0 games. You heard that right, 0. It isn't until he gets to Chalmette High School that he finally finds his footing. And even later, his college stint at Western Kentucky University ends in a suspension. It's just this crazy map of constant movement and instability. But right in the middle of all that wandering, something incredible happens. During his junior year, a neighbor notices an extremely tall young man in the neighborhood and actually tips off Coach Butch Stockton, the basketball coach at Chalmette High School. Coach Stockton gets Mitchell to commit to the school, and man, everything changes. Every great story needs a catalyst, right? An Obi-Wan Kenobi type of mentor figure. And for Mitchell Robinson, that was absolutely Coach Stockton. For the first time, Mitchell was in a truly stable environment with a coach who finally saw his true potential. So the crucial point is, under Coach Stockton's tutelage, something just clicked. Mitchell Robinson absolutely exploded onto the scene. He definitely wasn't unnoticed anymore. He led the Chalmette Owls to their first state semifinals in over 30 years. I mean, think about the impact of that. Wiping out a 3-decade drought just by finally finding his footing. His dominance became so undeniable that he was named a McDonald's All-American. He had finally arrived. The stage was perfectly set for this massive college career. But remember, this is Mitchell Robinson's story. Things are rarely that simple. Just when things looked crystal clear, we hit the wildest detour yet. So Mitchell originally committed to Texas Tech, but then he decommitted. He ended up enrolling at Western Kentucky University instead. But things definitely did not go as planned. He went on this pre-planned trip to Costa Rica, which unfortunately violated the team's rules. The fallout from this was massive. He was suspended indefinitely. The NCAA stepped in, mandating that he'd have to sit out the entire basketball season, though they did say he was allowed to transfer. His college career was effectively stalled before it even got off the ground. And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast we're dealing with here. Faced with a season-long suspension, he reached a huge turning point. Now, the traditional pipeline says you star in high school, you play for a massive blue blood college program, and then boom, you become a top draft pick. But Mitchell made a completely unprecedented choice. He elected not to go to college at all. Instead, he chose to skip it entirely and train solo to prepare himself for the NBA draft. I mean, what a massive gamble. Skipping the whole college development system to go train alone in a gym, usually that's a terrible idea. But somehow he deeply believed he could make it work. And wow, did that gamble pay off. He was selected 36th overall by the New York Knicks. And if anyone out there doubted whether his solo training actually worked, he silenced them immediately. He marched right into the NBA Summer League and utterly dominated. He didn't just play well, he set Summer League records for rebounds. He set Summer League records for blocks. The Knicks saw exactly what they had on their hands and swiftly signed him to an official deal. The underdog from Pensacola who skipped college had officially, absolutely, made it to the big leagues. Now, we could honestly end the explainer right there, focusing entirely on his incredible basketball stats and this sudden rise to dominance. But to do that, that would be missing the very essence of who Mitchell Robinson really is. He never forgot the people he considered family. Despite the money, the sudden fame, and the crazy bright lights of playing in New York City, Mitchell is anchored by this profound loyalty. He deeply, deeply believes in being surrounded by his loved ones and his core support system. Which brings us to the ultimate emotional payoff of this incredible narrative. After making it big in the NBA with the Knicks, Mitchell Robinson made a life-changing decision. He didn't just send a nice check back home. No, he actually moved the two biggest anchors of his life, his grandmother who raised him, and Coach Stockton, the mentor who discovered him, all the way up to New York to live with him. The woman who provided his foundation and the coach who provided his direction now get to safely and comfortably share in the exact success they helped build. How awesome is that? It's just such a beautiful full circle moment. And that brings us to the real takeaway of his story. Mitchell Robinson's path was completely unconventional. I mean, it was literally filled with transfers, unnoticed years, unexpected detours, and some incredibly bold risks. But that undefined, highly unique journey, that's exactly what makes him who he is today. It's living proof that everyone's path to success does not have to look the exact same. In fact, it's often those very struggles and weird detours along the journey that shape a person's essence and their ultimate purpose. So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a question. What does your path look like? When you face a detour, a sudden setback, or a moment where you just feel completely unnoticed by the world, remember Mitchell Robinson. Remember that taking an unconventional route absolutely doesn't mean you won't reach your destination. It just means you're building a unique story along the way. So how might your own detours be shaping your future success right now? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.
Welcome to the team. I'm sports author Kay, and this is your new favorite sports blog.